Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today, it's Monday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for Mailbag Monday, where we answer the questions that you guys have submitted to us via our Instagram stories. And today, we've also got some news to talk about, because there was some bombshell news about WWE 2K24 today, and I'm really excited to talk about that. But to join me to discuss it, we firstly have the co-host of the show, Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you?
Dude, I'm stoked. It's a Monday. The Chiefs went into Buffalo and got the job done yesterday. It's Royal Rumble week, 6 days away. We get a WWE video game announcement that I'm sure we'll get into today. So many good things going on right now. How could I not be stoked to be here? And not only that, it's Mailbag Monday. We got a letter. We got more than one letter, and we'll answer those questions. I'm stoked to get into it.
Absolutely. I mean, one week, we actually need to do it so you guys actually send us in letters. That would be quite funny. Just pull out a sack of,
Old school
of
mail.
things sent in. But also joining us today, we have the Tuesday Night Delight a day early. Shad, how are you?
Throw them twos up. I'm doing good, man. I feel like singing the Blues Clues. That we just got a letter. We just got a letter. but we here on Mailbag Monday, man. I'm definitely excited. We got some interesting questions that our fans, you the people, have granted us to answer. So let's get into it.
I wonder who it's from.
Just these mailbag jokes today. That's the theme of the show, guys. We're just gonna give you tons of mailbag references. That's the one it's gonna be. But last but certainly not least, we have Soul joining us. Soul, how are you?
I don't get a cool nickname like co-host of the Daily or Tuesday Night Delight just there. Yeah, it's good to be.
Soul is the nickname. Soul, you have the coolest nickname.
That's true.
Soul. I would like a little addition, maybe. I'm just saying, but look, hey, look, it's me and Shad, the tag team of the rating draws. We're here, and so obviously this will be a great episode.
Yeah, let's go.
Hang on. I got this for you, Soul. All the way out in Scotland, Ben Soul Lochran.
There we go. Fair enough. I'll take that.
I'm calling Soul the belt collector, man. He's the belt collector.
Belt collector, more like debt collector. I'm pretty much in debt right now with all these things. So let's get into some questions from the fans, shall we?
Absolutely. Let's just jump right into things. Well, actually, before we jump right into things, let's talk about WWE 2K24. And I had a list open, right, about all the new features, and that list, for some reason, isn't opening. So I'm going to have to do it off the top of my head. But the gist of it is, Cody Rhodes is the cover star for the normal version of WWE 2K24 with the tagline, finish the story. Then for the deluxe version, we have Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. And then for what I presume will be the Icons edition, we have a bunch of legends on it. It's an absolutely brilliant cover design. All three covers are absolutely exceptional, but as shown by the Icon cover, and, the press statement that followed it, the big mode this year, the showcase mode, will be 40 years of WrestleMania, and that's gotten a lot of fans excited. I'm absolutely hyped for this. We're going to be able to play some of the biggest moments from, all the WrestleManias. we're hopefully going to have some of the old WrestleMania stages in as well. And they've announced that if you get the big Icon Edition or whatever it is that it's called, you'll get the WrestleMania 40 stage after that show as well. So that is certainly a very, interesting thing, which I'm not sure if they've done before. But also on other game modes, on Universe mode, they've made a few improvements. Not too much, but a few. The main one being that you can now do loser leaves town matches and double title matches. So both of those are quite interesting. And talking about matches, they've announced 4 new match types. One being a gauntlet match, one being a casket match. Then the other one is an ambulance match. And then last but certainly not least, I've completely forgotten the last one. This is why I need my notes, guys.
It's all good.
Instagram on the desktop's a nightmare.
Man. I'm
Switch to me because I have the press release.
Do you have it?
I have it. I have iPhone better than Android. I'm just saying. Right.
It's better than Instagram on Mac. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think we'll all agree. But let's obviously, they have the covers. Cody Rhodes Standard Edition, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, historic 2 women on a 2K cover the first time for the upgraded version, and then an Ultimate Edition with the Road to WrestleMania, beautiful art with all the guys on it from Austin to Brett to Shawn to Roman Reigns and Taker, truly magnificent. So yeah, it's going to feature several advancements for this 2K series, which is going to be amazing. So obviously, 2K Showcase of the Immortals, 40 years of WrestleMania, captivating millions of moments for fans throughout the whole entire legacy of WrestleMania, from Hogan slamming Andre to WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker putting on matches for the ages. The grandest stage of them all will truly be an excellent force for fans to see, even the past 40 years of WrestleMania. Obviously, iconic rosters as well, from Stone Cold, Austin, Taker, Andre, Cody, and more stars up to date, with more greater-than-life entrances and signature moves with high-end ultra-realistic graphics. Basically, the pyro from Cody is going to melt your hard drive, so be careful with that. All I'm saying there. New match types as well, improved on existing match types. Obviously, special guest referee, ambulance match, casket match, and gauntlet match. In addition to backstage brawl, will now feature 4-player support with new interactive elements such as working elevator, breakable control room glass, and a vending machine with throwable sodas. Interesting. As well, the Royal Rumble will now... Yes, I know. Now, while the Royal Rumble will now offer support for 8 online players in 30 superstar online matches, all of the familiar WWE match types such as War Games, Extreme Rules, TLC, Submission, and Hell in a Cell will also return. Multiple gameplay updates as well as super finishers. What is that? I have no clue. Trading blows minigame, top rope dives onto groups of opponents outside the ring, and double title matches, new paybacks, and much more. New weapon types such as trash cans, guitars, microphones, and many more. My GM will be upgraded with more drama, more championships, talent scouting, superstar trading between brands, superstar contract management, and the new superstar journey, which will allow superstars to earn XP and train and level up during GM mode. My faction mode, not going to talk about it. It's microtransactions. I hate that. My Rise will feature 2 new storylines, Undisputed Men and Unleashed Women's. Put players in control of custom-created superstars, making a name within WWE and interacting with such stars as Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Mick Foley in a new My Rise experience, which is voiceover for the and others performing voiceover for the first time. Universe mode will be updated as well with more rivalry actions and run-ins. Creation sheet will be to the buff as well. Obviously, there's a pre-order bonus as well featuring the Nightmare Family Pack with Cody Rhodes as the Undashing and a Stardust. 1976 version of his father, Dusty Rhodes, and as well as one of Dusty's greatest rivals and Billy Graham. As well, there'll be My Faction cards, including a Mattel Bruised Cody Rhodes figure, which is going to be a character for the My Faction mode, and also Cody's dog Pharaoh as a manager. Interesting. Obviously, I mentioned the standard cross-gen digital edition, which will feature Rhea and Bianca on the title. The deluxe edition is that as well. Will include everything and the Supercharger and the My Rise Mega Booster. The 40 Years of WrestleMania, which will include everything mentioned there. And the 40 Years of edition will include the 40 Years of WrestleMania pack. Alternate tires from Macho Man Randy Savage at WrestleMania 6, Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania 22, Triple H at Mania 30, Charlotte at Mania 33, and Rhea at Mania 36. As well as what Allison mentioned about having the WrestleMania 40 stage when that becomes available at a later date. And that is everything from the 2K24 press release.
Ooh, that's a lot of stuff. Thank you for saving me there, Soul. I mean, Instagram. Instagram needs to sort out the desktop app, but I'm excited for it. I really am. And you can create referees now as well. So I guess You can have custom referees who, even if they aren't wrestlers, you can design your own and create designs. And like you said, the voiceover on My Rise, I'm very, very excited for, because we won't have to either listen to like fake voices or ones with no sound. We actually get voices now, and I'm certainly excited for that. I mean, it's going to be a fun game, and it is one of those ones where a lot of this long press release, they were just talking, absolutely nothing of note. And then every paragraph, you'd get to one sentence, one short sentence, and you'd be like, I'm really interested in that. And they give us just enough for us to fork out the however many dollars they want us to spend on the game each year. They're con artists at its finest, because they manage to do it. Every year I'm like, I won't get it next year. There won't be much new in it. Oh, but I want to have a special guest referee. I'm hooked in, and there we are. I'm excited for it, and more titles in GM.
I'm excited for a few things. Number one, I'm excited. I hope the My Rise slight revamp is really good. I always enjoy the My Rise mode, but my two favorite modes being My GM since the reintroduction of My GM just a few years ago, as well as My GM and why am I blanking on the game mode right now?
Rise.
Besides My Rise, My GM and
Universe Showcase.
Thank you. Showcase 40 years of WrestleMania. We get WrestleMania now. I prefer that over a single career. As much as I've enjoyed the previous showcases where it's a single career, I like the idea of working through the history. I think that'll be really fun. Touch on the nostalgia heartstrings. My GM gets better every time. I cannot wait for My GM. That's my favorite mode in the game. It's my favorite to play. I can't wait to see the new GMs, the new venues, all of the new features in that mode. My one question I have is, there was something about super finishers, and what in the world is a super finisher? I don't know, but I'm interested to see what it is.
Is it maybe that's the new word for when you use a finisher to put somebody through a table or something like that?
Maybe, but they already have catching finishers. They already have. So I have a feeling maybe a super finisher is. So this was my kind of theory when it was being discussed, in the group chat and off the air a little bit. I think it might be, they have the avalanche RKO, they have the catching RKO, they have the pedigree off the top rope, they have the attitude adjustment avalanche. There's an interesting double finisher where Reigns hits a Superman punch and the spear. That's an animation even in this year's game. And I'm wondering if they basically have just added an extra finisher slot. And if you maybe store two, you can use the better one. That seems the most logical to me, but I'm not entirely sure.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. It would. It maybe be a bit difficult for some talents, but yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then that would make sense. I mean, they've also just copied, Wrestling Republic completely. They've decided to rip off our Savannah, who's, of course, head of scouting here, and they've said, hang on a second, guys, the scouting showcase is so good, we're copying that format, and we're introducing it to GM mode, and they'll now have talent scout, so you can scout which talents you should sign and also trade. So yourself and Carter Clark can be, trading
we can
wrestlers. And yeah, it'll be fun. It certainly will be. But Shad, I want to get your thoughts on this one. How are you feeling heading into this new game, 2K24?
Well, I am the resident old man of Wrestling Republic, so obviously I'm used to the classics of WWE No Mercy on N64. Here Comes the Pain on PS2. A little bit closer to the age frame of was it SmackDown versus Raw 2008, which is one of my favorite games, where I believe like that's when like the GM mode was like really a hot commodity. But I'm excited for it, man. I love the ability of just nostalgia and being able to have a roster of legends from the past. Obviously, with the whole WrestleMania 40, it looks amazing. All covers look amazing, by the way. But that one in particular, like, it has me excited because I love nostalgia. it allows, young wrestling fans to get an opportunity to be in the moment of these historical moments that have happened at Mania and get to play them and get used to knowing about, legendary characters. Characters way ahead of my time. I never grew up watching Dusty Rhodes, but it's a pretty awesome moment with that. I love the GM mode. I'm always a avid franchise mode and Madden kind of person, so I always like wearing my managerial hat and creating a roster and booking matches amongst how I want to do. So that's exciting. And then all the different match types, man, like an ambulance match and all that, like all of that seems really cool. But I gotta give my major shout outs to the two women who got an opportunity to be on the deluxe cover. Soul mentioned it that this is history in the making, and that is phenomenal, man. It's a long overdue. It's amazing as long as I've been watching wrestling, just to see the growth and evolution of women's wrestling, transcend, and seeing stars like Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair who've been doing phenomenal work these last couple years. Bianca to me has been the MVP of WWE for the last 3 years, and she gets her just due. Rhea Ripley has been the hottest commodity in women's wrestling, arguably this last year. It's awesome to see them get that moment. I'm curious to see what goes on with Cody in real life because this is WrestleMania stuff tied to it. When the story and the commercial, I don't know, maybe they're foreshadowing, but all in all, man, I'm excited for it. 2K always knocks it out the park with their games, and I think them and WWE have really been doing a good job after 2K20 because that game wasn't good.
No, it was not. It was very bad. But, I mean, I feel like not only... I mean, clearly WWE 2K are big fans of our Shoot Wrestling Republic, and I think that they should Anthony's opinion immediately following WrestleMania last year about the Rocky storyline, about doing Cody versus Roman Reigns again. And 2K thought this prediction is so good, of course it'll happen. So they decided to design an entire game around Cody Rhodes finishing the story, only to find out it's Rock versus Roman instead.
Oh
But
my gosh.
I actually do think that's what's happened, unfortunately. But so what about you? How are you feeling heading into this one?
Oh, honestly, I can't wait to play this. I mean, like, I don't pre-order games out of principle, but I'm very tempted for this just because I think I'm going to really enjoy this. I mean, I've sunk probably nearly 500 hours to 2K19, which I still think is the best wrestling game in my opinion. I truly do love it. Things that really caught my eye with this is two things. For GN mode, more championships. Obviously, we've got Raw, SmackDown, NXT Black and Gold, NXT Skittles, and WCW. They had NXT UK in 2K22, so are they going to bring that back? Maybe add ECW in as well? I mean, who knows? It could be something interesting they're going to add there. I'm very interested with the championships, but obviously as well, the showcase of WrestleMania 40. Because I think the last time they did this, it was up to 30, if I'm correct. Well,
yeah.
30 hadn't technically happened. So they've got like 30 to do, 31, 30 through till 40 pretty much. So here's the thing. They can't do the main event for WrestleMania 30 because Bryan Danielson ain't with the company anymore. So who are they going to pick? Right. Are they going to pick probably Brock and Taker, I would imagine? I feel like that's when the street ends. They'll do that.
Gotta do that.
I think other ones that they should really include is Roman Reigns and Brock, where Seth cashed in, have that one as well. Have, honestly, for 36, I would split into two. Bray and Cena, have that one. And then have Drew versus Brock for the other one. Other ones as well, because Stardust is in it, if he allows it, which I hope they do, because then again, there's Ziggler as well, is the ladder match. Stardust, everyone's...
Ryder wins it, doesn't they? So...
I just want to play Ryder again. Is that too much? I want to hear radio again in a WWE game. Because I would book him all the time to be the champion. I mean, it's just a fact. I like Matt Cardona too much. I was like, I'll just put him in the game. But yeah, obviously that's 10 more years of WrestleMania, 10 more great stages, 10 more great select matches. I can't wait to see what they pick and how they're going to incorporate. Will it be like with the Cena showcase mode where they had live action footage, or is it going to be fully in game? I'm interested to see where they go with this.
I am as well. I'm really excited for it. We got a few comments here. We got numero one, Superfly, saying, bet Triple H is like Cody. You're finishing the story as soon as we do Rock versus Roman. And then we got Bobby Petito saying, will we see NXT wrestlers on 2K24? I'm certain we will.
Of course.
If they've been with the company for a bit. So the likes of Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, I think are, safe presumptions, as well as, the ones who've been there for probably, 9+ months.
I'm creating Obafemi and making him 99.
Oh, me too.
I'm going to see
it. I'm surprised we're not showing for Tiffany Stratton, Shad. I mean, come on.
She's going to be in the game.
There. She'll be there.
Nah, she'll be like final unlockable. You have to beat, Taker or something like that 36 times in Ultimate Extreme Hell in a Cell Buried Alive match to unlock Tiffany.
Taker, you're losing every time, so I can get Tiffany Stratton on my game.
I mean, here's the thing, though, right? If 2K really do watch our podcast, then they'll have Tiffany Stratton be a DLC for like the Icon Edition or whatever, just so Shard has to pay them more money for that. We got Carlos BA saying they should add promos in WWE 2K20, but with voices, and maybe put contract signings in Universe mode as well. I like that. Those would certainly be quite interesting. We got Itaza Rabani, who can't decide every day if he likes us or hates us. Some days he comments lovely, heartwarming comments towards us. And other days he calls us trash and tells us to acknowledge the tribal chief. But, I mean, thank you for watching. I appreciate the view. But now let's move on, and let's move on to talk about Mailbag Monday. Because we have at Liam Blazchuk. I probably messed that up. You guys know me. I'm awful with names. But he is asking, will Andrade Cien Almas, formerly known as Andrade El Idolo in AEW, return to WWE? We know it's Royal Rumble season. We know his wife works there. Do you reckon we could see it, Clark?
I think absolutely yes. I think the real question here is, where does he go in WWE, though? Which brand? Why? I mean, Charlotte's out. I don't even see it as soon as the Rumble. I think the answer is he inevitably returns to the WWE, but I don't see it being at the Rumble in any way. I think we're looking closer to SummerSlam. I don't think we see Andrade on TV for a long time. I think it's kind of one of those situations where it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You have Charlotte, who just went down with an injury. We know isn't active, all of that. Take some time off between contracts, sign something, maybe debut around Money in the Bank, leading to a big match at SummerSlam or something like that. But I actually do not see him as a surprise Rumble entrant, despite the fact that I do think it's inevitable he ends up in the WWE.
Well, I respect your right to be wrong, Clark, because I 100% think he's in the Rumble. I mean, he's not getting any younger if they're going to sign him. We know what WWE are like with ages. We know their ageism, and we know I second that. And yeah, I do not think for a second, unfortunately, well, not even unfortunately, I want to see him as soon as possible, and I think we fortunately will see him at the Rumble, and Bobby Petito would like to see him on SmackDown and wrestle the likes of Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee. Yes, please, I would love to see that too, Bobby. But now let's move on, and let's move on to talk about a question from another Ben. There's Bens everywhere today. Ben Collins Daniel, who is asking, what is your take on Seth Rollins' title run so far? Of course, we know he suffered an injury last week. We don't know the extent of it. A lot of the dirtiest dirt sheets in all of Dirt Sheet Entertainment have been speculating, like the rats they are, rummaging around the trash this week. Well, tonight on Raw, maybe we'll get some answers. We'll have to wait and see. But, Chard, his title reign so far, what's your thoughts been on it?
A+ title reign so far. You have to think about what the fans have been wanting in a world champion that we don't get from the other world champion, the tribal chief. Buddy in the comments on Instagram, I'm sorry, you're probably not gonna like me saying that. Oh well. But Seth Rollins has been the fighting champion that we have been, begging for on the WWE, and he has been going against a plethora of competition. He's been feuding with the hottest, faction that they have on WWE with Judgment Day, having bouts with Finn Balor, a great feud, great matches they had against each other. Going against Damian Priest, he's still that dark cloud that is hovering over him. Going against Shinsuke Nakamura, having matches with Sami Zayn. Like, he's had a lot of great title defenses, Drew McIntyre. And it's shown that Seth is not only the marquee fighting champion with going against all these competitors and having great matches, but he's a great character at the end of the day. Seth is entertaining. He always cuts great promos. He's always a fan favorite when he gets out to the arena. And let's not forget, he has us invested in one of the most big time feuds with CM Punk, right? Like, we weren't,
True.
as much as we were talking about Punk's return at the War Games event at the Survivor Series, we were talking about Seth Rollins' reaction and how mad he was, and talking about the history of it. It takes two to tango. I think he depicts what a world champion is, and I look. I know we're not supposed to tell votes, but I voted him Wrestler of the Year for myself last year. I think Seth was the best male wrestler in professional wrestling last year. And for that, he gets an A, man. He had to win a tournament for that title, too.
Absolutely. No, he really has had an entertaining reign. He's had so many matches that it's actually hard to remember them all. Like, when you were talking then, I was like, oh, I forgot about that. Like, it is one of those ones where I think we're going to look back at
Bobby just put one I totally forgot about. NXT, he went against Braun Breaker and defended his
title.
title
Of course.
on NXT.
Oh, that was very good.
Yeah.
Indeed. We have a comment about the last topic from Lucifer saying, as per my opinion, Andrade should return when the LWO Cold War heats up. I mean, that could be interesting, but I mean, we know he's got, a relationship with Santos Escobar from before, so that in Mexico, so that certainly could be
And Zelina.
interesting. Of course, Selena as well. I definitely think that's possible. Her managing him again. I loved Zelina in that role. I do hope we see it. But now let's move on, and let's move on to the next question, which was submitted by Bobby Petito himself, who was asking which UK wrestlers will have a breakout year and be signed by TNA or AEW. Well, I know we've mentioned quite a few of them on the daily as of late. Xia Brookside recently got signed by TNA. But Soul, who do you reckon will have a breakout year in the independent scene in the UK to then get signed by AEW or TNA?
Oof, you're putting the whole screen on me. I'm pressuring now, boy. Jesus, oof. Right. And obviously, last time we did a similar question to this, where I mentioned people who I interviewed who I love to see in the companies. Now I'm actually going to pick in some more established names who I feel like aren't going to make that breakout year. And I want to start first with TNA. And for this, I really just focused on their X division, which I feel like is their bread and butter. And one of those names that I think will absolutely thrive there and be the biggest star in TNA is the current Rev Pro Undisputed Heavyweight Champion. That is Michael Oku. I mean, he is an exceptional wrestler. The dude has had matches with Ospreay, and if you can hold your own against Ospreay, you got something. And Michael Oku in the X division against someone like Chris Sabin, oh, come on, that's going to be an absolute beauty as well. But obviously, another person I know, Allison, you know very well, is the current Progress World Champion, Spike Trivet. He gives off a presence. I know you're stirring right now, but hey, like, that man gives off a present, right? The vulture of Progress. He has it. He has that kind of factor. If you saw in TNA against someone like a Josh Alexander or a Moose, or even somebody maybe lower down like a Brian Myers or a Kushida, that would really bring out the best of him and just honestly show that he can be villainous but effective with that villainous. And I would love to see that as well, the vulture in TNA. And finally, there's another person as well I think will thrive as well in the X division is Robbie X. Robbie X is someone who has been absolutely killing it. I remember seeing a match of his at Riot Cabaret All-In Weekend. We were, the whole crowd was maybe a bit like, this is a bit much. We've had all our fillings. And this just came in like a nice macaroon on a plate. And it was like, ooh, there's another dessert there for you. Absolutely kicking it. Dude is athletic, really killing it. And I know he's had matches as well with someone else who's with TNA, another British upstart in Leon Slayer. So we can maybe get that run back in TNA. I would personally love to see it. So for AEW, I kind of thought like, well, people say they're missing characters. So I figured, our little scene has some good characters. So the first one I want to mention is someone who I'm surprised has never been with a big company. How is this guy not been with a big company? Will surprise me with all he's done. He's done stuff in the Emperor Fringe Festival. He's done stuff with Progress, done stuff with Riot Cabaret. That is Charles Crowley. Charles Crowley it's like Loki in the flesh, right? The guy is just so charismatic, and he's got a kind of nickname that I can't really say here in the daily, but it's funny though with everyone chanting it in the ring. Charles Crowley, he is truly a funny guy. He's done stuff with Session Moth Martina. He's done stuff in TNT as well. The guy is basically, I would like to say, if I could get Charles Crowley versus Dalton Castle, I think it'd be one of the most entertaining matches. I see if that was in Las Vegas, I would pay a flight and a dirty ass hotel just to see that match in person, because it would be truly, truly entertaining what Crowley and Castle could put on together in the ring. Somebody else as well who I think most likely could get into the company because he's got a family member now is Ricky Knight Jr. Ricky Knight Jr. If you've not seen what he does in Progress as the Atlas champion, he's done stuff in Rev Pro as well. Did stuff on Royal Quest with FTR. The guy is another level of talent. Truly gets it, truly makes the crowd care, and I think it's just someone who's going to be really, really breakout star, even in the next 3 years within the UK scene. And someone finally as well, someone who was the Progress Women's Champion, Lana Austin. Lana Austin is someone who is very, very good at what she does. She gives off this snarky, nasty vibe that honestly makes you kind of like, oh God, seeing the next person that dethrones her is going to be absolutely amazing and joyous to see. I would just love to see that. And you know what? I'll throw in one final name as well, because I mentioned someone who's associated with Session Moth Martina. Get Session Moth Martina in AEW. She's done stuff for Ring of Honor. But most importantly, I want to see her tag with Willow Nightingale just so I can have the beer and hug connection. That's all.
That is funny indeed. You mentioned a lot of great names. I'll throw Luke Jacobs in there as well. Him in the X division. In TNA as like the big guy in that division or whatever. I think, that could be hard hitting. I would like to see that indeed. And I did, like your shout. Spike Trevay in TNA, that would be entertaining, but I'd prefer him in AEW. So everybody's favorite father figure, Christian Cage, can give him a good old slapping and put him in his place, because I believe Spike Trevay needs a father figure in his life so he can stop being a word I cannot even say on this podcast because I will not go down to his level.
Respectable.
Calm down. Let's now move on, and let's move on from that disgusting man to instead talk a bit more about AEW and talk specifically about their ranking system, because Melissa Robinson is asking what our thoughts are on AEW bringing back the ranking system. And there's a lot of, I mentioned the dirt sheets earlier, there's a lot of dirt sheet speculation and all this, they're, like I said, they're rummaging through the trash, they're getting dirty in the process, their sheets are never clean, they need to use a washing machine, they don't know how, it's disgusting, they smell, but they've been speculating on why they got rid of it. But the fact of the matter was, there was a lot of, in 2021, 2022, AEW started making matches which had nothing to do with the ranking system. And at that point, people were like, well, this has now become pointless, so just get rid of it. And that's what AEW did. They got rid of it, but it is now back. So presumably they're going to take it seriously like they did in 2019 and 2020. But if you want a title shot, you've got to get up those rankings, and wins and losses, once again, will hopefully matter. But so, we all know you're a big fan of AEW. How are you feeling about this news?
I think the ranking system will bring a freshness to AEW again for some people. You know, I remember watching during the pandemic era, and the ranking system was always fun because you would watch the show, and then maybe like an hour or two later, the rankings would be posted on their Instagram, and you kind of see where things were going. You could maybe do a little bit of prediction or where something could go wrong. But I think with the ranking system, what happened that made it definitely collapse was Dark and Dark Elevation. Because those rankings counted as well, somebody who was on Dark and Dark Elevation doing a lot would get big numbers, and because they were so on it so frequently, it made the whole system basically redundant. As well, I'm sure a lot of people remember FTR were number rank 1 in the tag division for the longest time, and it took them maybe 8 months to get a title shot.
Yeah.
Now, I think what happened as well with the ranking system is that story kind of got in the way of the ranking system. They had a good story going on, so it was like, well, we kind of want to continue this, but we had the ranking system, and things were just colliding and clashing. Eventually, all scrapped it, and I know a big people's complaint has been like, what's Rampage significance? What's this going to be? And I think with this new ranking system, the Rampage is going to have a place now. You could have a match on Dynamite and be like, well, I'm only one more match away from getting a TNT champion shot. You know what? Matt Sydal, Rampage, this is it. And, you know, maybe if there's an upset, like Matt Sydal beats whoever it is, they move up in the rankings, someone else moves down, and now they've got to grind again. They might say, well, I know it's been a busy week, so I'm going to go on Collision and get another win there. And so that insensitized people to maybe go on to Rampage more because it will affect the ranking system. I'm perfectly fine with this. I think this has been in the plan for a while. You know, when TK announced that the Continental Classic was going to be a more sports-orientated product, and that's where AEW's direction was going to go, back to being sports-based, the ranking system were going to come back regardless. And I feel like as well, when this ranking system does debut again, there's going to be one team in particular everyone's going to be complaining about, well, why don't they get a title shot? And as I mentioned in the story, it's Sting and Darby Allin. I think Sting and Darby Allin will dethrone Big Bill and Ricky Starks. And that will be Sting's final match will be for the AEW tag team titles in the main event. I honestly, like, I've always thought maybe Sting should retire undefeated to have a little nice charm to it. But if the story's going where it is and the Bucks beat Sting and Darby to take the tag titles, there's going to be an inferno and heat in North Carolina, boys. That snow is melting.
In the final match as well. Oh, but you are right. That would be very, very good heel work. And you hit the nail on the head there. The issue with the ranking system is it can make storytelling harder. But the advantage of it is you can do random matches and get away with it because there's now a reason for it. And at times, you don't want to use it as an excuse, right, for bad booking. You don't. But it does help in a lot of ways in making things feel not quite as random. But yeah, it will get in the way of storytelling, which very simply just means they need to be better with long-term storytelling so they can, get people in the right positions in the rankings for the story so it'll make sense in the end. So they just got to think it through a bit more. But what about you, Shad? How are you feeling about the rankings being back on our TV screens?
So it brings a sense of optimism. I liked it when they initially had the ranking system with AEW. I felt like that kind of made an identity because it was kind of geared to how you do, like sports-based things with like boxing, UFC, and whatnot. And it added a different element to it. I'm curious to see how it goes upon now because one thing that they did with the rankings and win totals was there was a lot of inflated stat numbers. I believe that happened. They had a lot of wins that would go on with opponents on Dark and Elevation, where a lot of people never really watched it like that, right? And you'll be like, oh man, like how is Anna Jay 29-3 when I've seen her only lose every time on Dynamite, but she pulled out 29 wins on Dark and Elevation, So I'm curious to see how they go upon that. I like your idea with you do have an opportunity to set matches up where it helps in a person get wins. I mean, Edge, for instance, he's doing this whole open challenge. These wins stack up for him and whatnot. That could maybe get him an opportunity to get to a title defense with, your favorite person, Kristen Cage. But it's a it's a different element to create storylines when you do have a person winning matches, and it gives you a reason to, as a viewer and as a fan, to want to see a title match happen. If I'm a person like, I don't know, like Brian Keefe, an up and coming person that they just got, he goes on a hot streak, gets a bunch of wins on Dynamite or on Rampage, and you see him cooking, well, then it makes sense, because if he's like 10-0 in his last 10 matches, well, now I have a reason to want to watch him go against the Orange Cassidy, rather than me just throwing Brian Keefe versus Orange Cassidy randomly for a title match. So I think it's a good way to kind of create storylines, and it gives AEW its identity back. I just hope that they stick to the script and they make it be what it's set to be.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I do completely agree with you there, and I do agree. Like you and Saul have said, now that Dark isn't there, that'll also help it make a lot more sense, because Dark did just seem like a bit of a cheat code in many respects. We went a little while without a Clark, and you just chucked one out on a random segment.
Because I agreed with you on that one. Yeah.
But what's your opinion? How are you feeling?
All seriousness, I agree with a lot of this. If you know me well, as y'all do, and some of the listeners do, I'm a huge MMA fan. So I love the idea of the rankings, right? You get number 3 versus number 6. It's relevant no matter what in that, right? And put the ranking next to the name on the graphic for me. Do it like college football and college basketball too. Put 3 John Moxley, right? And do it by division too. 3. I wish they would do it where they separate the TNT title from the international title from the world title, and there's a separate ranking system for all 3. That would be as cool as could be to me.
That would make sense.
Like a challenger system. That's the way I would go about it. I enjoyed the ranking system out of the gates personally. I just think the concept is brilliant because it provides accountability from a booking standpoint. It just does, right? If you get number 11 and he pulls an up, or he or she pulls an upset off of the number 4 ranked in their spot, that matters. And that's storytelling in and of itself. And if we're trying to really focus on the in-ring product, it's a direct avenue in my eyes creatively to make that work better than anybody else has been able to execute that. It logically speaks for itself in comparison to some of the things that we've often complained about on this show, right? We've complained about, why is this random? Well, if it's 18 versus 11 and it's an opportunity to move up the rankings, it's suddenly more relevant.
But will they do that this time? Because I really hope they do. I hope they do it. So, it's a top 10 or maybe a top 20, but at least a top 10. Because before it was just a top 5, I believe. And that was where,
The last thing that I will add is, on top of all of that, I would say that with the ranking system, right? And everything about number 1 contendership, we don't have meaningless contenders titles matches booked anymore because there's a ranking behind it. And that's, to me, that's the biggest positive about a ranking system, is there's no more like, well, why are they in a number 1 contenders match? Or didn't they just lose their last 2 matches? Like, there's an accountability level that you just can't, right? It's statistical. And also, we produce content. It's content every week. Release the ratings and everyone's going to look at it. And everyone's curious. And it's time for people to enjoy it, discuss it. I think the idea, if executed properly, is brilliant. Truly. As a fan of combat sports, I think it's brilliant. And I do believe also it can function inside of pro wrestling.
No, I do agree with you. I know quickly before we switch off, I want to address some of these comments. Bobby Petito saying that he'd be interested to see, where Daniel Garcia would be. I mean, that's an interesting one. And like you said, Clark, having them separated into different, rankings for the AEW Championship, the TNT, the International, compared to like how they had it before, where it was all one ranking system. Right. I'd like that as well, because then you could see the likes of Daniel Garcia being ranked each week. And it kind of reminds me of 2K15 and 16 when career mode, there was separate rankings for different championships. And
like he's the number 2. If Garcia is the number 2 or 3 contender for the TNT or international title, that's logical. And it's just another thing that puts him over. You can put the ranking next to his name. I like that. As a sports fan, if we're trying to make it more like sports, it makes.
And I say it all the time. If you're going to be the alternative product, you've got to do things differently. And since Triple H has, taken over creative in WWE, AEW has kind of just felt like kind of too similar in a way. Now they're being like, okay, well, if you're doing entertainment, we'll do sports. Like they were in 2019. It makes sense. And on that note, we're wrapping things up, guys. But thank you so much for watching. If you're on Spotify and you enjoyed, please leave us a cheeky 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Instagram, Twitch, all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Clark. Thank you to Soul. And thank you to Shad for joining me today for the show. We'll be back tomorrow for the Raw review and, of course, NXT of the air as well. See you guys